Hey everybody, I've been going on some adventures. Some real big adventures. And by that, I mean just literally sitting outside my house on the porch, basking in the sun all the time. You know what's weird about this though is that, for all the time that I've been spending out there, each day, each hour that I stay out in the sun, I've noticed that my eyes have continued to hurt more and more as I've done it. Now, I've always had my eyes hurt by the sun, that's just the way it is, but I think the fact that I've been in this room for so long, and the fact that I just always have the light off in here, I've talked in videos so many times about how my light is always off. Um, I think it kind of changed things. It kind of changed, like, the way that I just perceive stuff in general, like the way that my eyes process the light, because it's just the way that I've done things all the time. And so I've been sitting out here on the porch to kind of try and adjust my eyes to more like natural light, as a sort of way of improving that about myself. And I found that after the first 2 days, I would go to sleep and my eyes would hurt before I went to sleep. And then when I would wake up, my eyes still hurt. They still felt like that when I woke up. And they felt like that pretty much the entire day, whether I'm outside or not. Even if I have the light directly turned off, my eyes closed, they've hurt. And the only solution I seem to have come up with is just to go outside more, close my eyes, and wait for it to work out. But it's sort of a stinging feeling, like it stings in my eyes all the time. And the only reason I could come up with any internet searching whatsoever, or any kind of thought, is that my eyes have just become adjusted to this type of light, to not having the light on, to having them just laying on my bed closed, or just looking at the computer screen, or just looking at my phone. I'm literally not even used to having the normal light on in my room, because as soon as I walk in the room, I always turn the light off. And so um, I have to clean up in here. I was in the process of cleaning up in here. That's why it looks like this. But um, yeah, like that's where I'm at right now, is just literally sitting outside all the time, which it's kind of comfy in a way. Like, it hurts my eyes, it definitely does, but it's comfy to be able to sit out there and I don't know, just bask in the sort of existence that we live in. Being able to look out at the trees, look out at the cars passing by. It feels kind of nice. Um, it just hurts my eyes. That's the thing, is that my eyes still hurt right now as we speak. Maybe I could invest into some kind of sunglasses, but I've never really liked looking through sunglasses, despite the fact that I enjoy looking at sunglasses. I've never liked looking through them, so I never end up usually wearing them. But I think perhaps if I'm going to be going out consistently, which is the plan, uh, might make a video about future wage cuckery stuff going on here, but the sort of plan is to be able to go out consistently. And so if my eyes are hurting as much as they are right now, and let me tell you, I'm feeling a real sting, what I'm probably going to have to do is get some kind of sunglasses and then wear them when I go out. And then eventually, gradually, as I continue going out and out and I get used to the light, wearing them less, and just having my eyes adjust naturally. That seems like the right way to go about this. It's kind of a weird problem to have, because I've just been isolated for so long in so many different periods of my life. Like when I was living in Virginia, for instance, I went out pretty regularly to the park just because I was really depressed and I didn't have anything to do. When I was living in Maine, I had to go out all the time because I had to look for a job because we didn't have any money. And so there's been these little patches of time where I had to go out really consistently. I didn't want to, I just did. At least in Maine, it was bearable because there were always really gray clouds out all the time, and it was always raining, so it never really felt like the light was bright, like it was hitting your eyes and then beating through them the way that it does here, which the first day was really, really unbearable because like I went out and it was like my vision became blurred when I walked out the door. That's the way I'll describe it. So I walked out the door, and when I saw the sunlight, it felt like my vision was becoming completely blurred, and it was jarring. It felt like some kind of light was like piercing through my soul. It was weird, and I just sat on the porch because it's one of those kinds of environments where you don't have to walk out in the street and then worry about a motorcycle hitting you, or have to go around anywhere that might have nefarious folks. You just sit there and you just gradually get used to the sunlight in your eyes. And so in the process of doing that, I've just noticed my eyes hurt more and more each day, but it wasn't anywhere near as intense as, when I did first go out, because when I did that, it felt like, whoa, whoa, what happened here? My eyes hurt really bad. But that was the initial reaction. I think what's more pertinent is just kind of like the consistent, bad feel of okay, my eyes are just going to constantly sting now. But I'm sure it'll go away over time. It's just a matter of adjusting one's eyes. Like, I had to adjust my eyes to not being in the sun all the time. Like, I talked in my backaches and eye strain video a year ago about how I didn't really feel a lot of eye strain from sitting at my computer all the time. And there were certain periods where I did get a lot of eye strain, but it was only after I had been in the sun for quite some time and I started isolating again. But after a long enough period of isolation, it always went away because I just isolated for so long that the eye strain no longer affected me. I just sort of adapted to it in my daily life. And I think that's the big difference for a lot of people, is because for a lot of people, they've been out, they've been outside seeing the sun for so long that they're just completely used to that state of mind. Their eyes just go to that immediately because that's what they've always done. Me, I've been the opposite. Most of my life I've spent in the house, and so my eyes just adapted to being in the house. And so I adapt much faster to being in the house over time, and it just literally doesn't hurt anymore. It's so much so that actually going outside hurts my eyes 20 times more. But I have to adapt to it. I have to readapt the adaptation that was made to make it to where I stayed in the house all the time with the light off. Now, people were so confused when they asked me, Star, how do you do that? How do you just stay in the house all the time? And I would always look at them kind of perplexed because I'm like, well, how do I don't do it? You know, it's just a natural state of mind for me because I've just adapted. And I've made videos in the past talking about like my eyes hurting from having the light off all the time and just looking at the computer. But eventually that just went away the more that I did it. And I don't see why going outside would be any different. Like, the more that I go outside, eventually my eyes will just adjust. But the sort of weird thing is that, there's always been this sort of overpowering feeling that I get from being in lots of light. It's almost overstimulating in a way. You get all this stimulation from being in the light that when I come home, when I come in my room, I just want to turn the light off because it makes you feel more relaxed afterwards. But that feeling is something that builds up over time, you know? Like, the more that you spend, how do I frame this? the more that you spend outside, the less that that feeling is going to bother you just because you become used to being outside all the time, you know? And the same is true of the opposite. So, when it comes to building up habits that are going to accurately tackle something like this, the question comes more in how long am I going to be willing to put up with this until eventually it starts working? That's always the central question. And for certain people, the time that they need to take is longer. For others, it's shorter. It just depends on your mind and your body. With some people, they just can't adapt at all. And, well, what I would say to them is just have a consistent way of doing things. But it certainly is odd because I think for most people watching this video, they wouldn't even remotely understand what it's like to go outside and have your eyes hurt for entire days on end, even after getting inside, in the dark. But it's about rehabilitation. It's about building yourself into someone who can eventually reach that peak and all this other stuff. Well, there's places I want to go. I don't want to just be in my room all the time. I want to go visit places, see places. Like, I, even when I was like super, super anxious and I literally couldn't ever go outside because my anxiety was so bad. Um, Even back then, I didn't want to be in that state. I wanted to eventually get to a point where I could live in an entirely new country, you know? And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is by working, by having a provable income to get a loan, to go to school. And only way I can do that is by taking the small steps to change through, you know, actually adjusting my eyes to being outside consistently and actually going out consistently. You have to start somewhere to be able to reach the next place. On Monday, I should be going to basically this job center place, that will bring me to a entirely new era of star and all this other stuff, and yeah, that's gonna be making money that way. I sound really apathetic in this video. I really don't sound like my normal self where I'm, shouting about how excited I am about everything going on, but that's mostly just because I've been in this like mellow state of just kind of existing. Like it doesn't feel bad. I've just felt relaxed. You know, that's how I would describe it. I felt completely relaxed. Been trying to deal with my sleep schedule, and I've figured out that one thing that at least kind of helps is to sleep multiple times in a day, to have multiple alarms going off. Now, I've tried this before and it never really worked, but I'm trying it again. I'm trying to sleep at around the same time, and if I end up waking up, I'm trying to basically have a system in place where I sleep multiple times for a few hours instead of sleeping one time for a bunch of hours. That has always been at least a little bit easier for me, so I'm going to try doing that more often. Not gonna, I'm not gonna hold my breath about it though, because I've tried many, many times to like exercise constantly and to move and always have things that I'm doing in order to help me get to sleep at the right times, and that didn't work. I've tried basically every single method under the sun. So I doubt anything that I'm gonna do is gonna work completely, but it's going to work at least a little bit better than what I'm already doing. So there's that. The point is to be able to get to the job on time. I don't give a fuck about what I'm like when I get home as long as I get to the job on time and as long as I get it done. That's what matters. So it's all about these small steps, trying to micromanage your own fucking bullshit brain until I don't have to anymore, at least. Oh God, get me out of this country, man. Get me out. Get me out of this country. Whee! Ree! Ree! Okay, goodbye.